Coming up on this week's edition of the Sports Desk, it was a defensive battle in the rivalry game. Eric Kabak will break down North versus West on the high school gridiron. Torrance runs right through Centennial in their homecoming game. Danny Miskell will have that story. Plus, Anthony Scott has the skinny on North versus South in high school girls volleyball. We'll have all this and so much more. Get ready, Torrance. The Sports Desk begins right now. Welcome, everyone, to the only sports show designed with the Torrance sports fan in mind. This is the Sports Desk. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host, AJ Vittone, and we'll get to our top stories in just a second. But first, don't forget to interact with us on social media. Remember to share your videos, photos, and story ideas. And remember to use the hashtag TheSportsDeskTV. Hit us up and let us know what's going on, and we'll put you and your videos on the show. All right, at the beginning of every high school football season, one thing is always abundantly clear. If you ask the Saxons of North High who they want to beat the most out of everyone on their schedule, the answer is West. And if you ask the Warriors of West High who they want to beat the most out of everyone on their schedule, the answer is North. As you can imagine, this game has been circled on both teams' calendars since the summer. And recently, West and North renewed their bitter rivalry at Fred Peterson Field, and that's exactly where our very own Eric Kabak was, and he files this report.
What's going on, Torrance? We are here at West High as the West High Warriors host the North Torrance Saxons. West comes into this game with a record of 1-4, while the North Torrance Saxons come into a record at 3-2. The Saxons defeated Morningside last week, and West is trying to end a 3-game losing skid. Fasten your seatbelts. Tonight is a rivalry game. West coming out to a sign that says "Pray for Vegas Victims." North breaking a sign that says "Welcome back Pinktober" as they raise awareness for cancer. First quarter, Brandon Poffenberger on fourth down. No, Makai Jordan, big hit on Sheel Whistler. Second quarter now, Saxons with the ball, but a fumble. Who's got it? Who's got it? West says they have it. Wait for the official. And West does have it. Now West with possession. Miscommunication. Poffenberger fumbles, and North would recover. North ball now. Quarterback change. Makai Jordan in at quarterback. Lays one up for his 6'5 receiver, Sebastian Matele. Oh, but he can't come down with it. Still in the seconds remaining in the second quarter. Makai Jordan says, "I'm going to do it myself." Busts the ball outside. Tries to leap over a defender. No. And that's how the first half would end. Third quarter now, Poffenberger trying to make something happen, but he is sacked by Jacob Harris. Quarterback change for West as Venture O'Neill is looking for Dutch Silverlake and gets him. But they would force to punt. Sean Segala now. Oh, gets it to Brandon Livingston on the sideline down to the 2. They wouldn't be able to punch it in, so a field goal attempt, 31 yards. Got it. And North leads 3-0. Last chance. And another sack for Jacob Harris. O'Neill goes down. This game would end 3-0.
Yeah, I felt like a big rivalry for us. I'm not really from the Torrance area, so I don't know that much background, but I know it's a very big game for us, so we had to come out and get the W.
This defense means everything to us, you know. When the offense is struggling like this, you know, we need that defense to lift us.
It's just everything we worked on all week. We worked on scenarios like that, and it was just a great job with Makai and Sean executing like that, keeping us in the game, and just putting a great ball up there.
Obviously, both defenses pretty solid. Both offenses, not so great. You know, it's one of those rivalry games. You know, Jacob Gerardo, one of our senior kids, just set the tone for our defense, and you know, came up with a field goal. So it's not our forte, but Mitchell Jackson did a great job putting that thing through.
What a game here at West High. The North Torrance Saxons escape by a field goal, winning 3-0. The pass to Brandon Livingston was the key play in tonight's game. Reporting from Fred Peterson Stadium, this has been Eric Kabak for the Sports Desk.
Eric, thank you. Not a whole lot of offense in this one, that's for sure. It was certainly more of a defensive battle. Next up for North, they will host Lusinger High School. As for West, they will hit the road and travel to Centennial. Now, let's be honest here. North versus West isn't just any old game. It is North and West we're talking about, after all. As you just saw, the Saxons won the game, but more importantly, won the rivalry. At least until next year, that is. You see, it's not just a win if you're the Saxons. It's much more than that. Eric Kabak explains.
North High and West High is one of the biggest rivalries in Torrance. I spoke with some of the Saxons and asked what the rivalry meant to them.
Yesterday we had Coach Sager come and talk to us at our team dinner, and he told us about the rivalry and how serious it was and everything, and showed us his helmet that he had from 1983 when they played here.
Oh, wow.
This is what we expected. You know, we expected a dogfight. We expected them to come out ready to play, and we were sure we were going to come out ready to play. And you know, the game lived up to what it was made out to be, and I'm just glad that God let us come out with a win.
We had to do it for everybody who came in before us. It's a big game out here, so we just have to do what we've been practicing. That's it.
All the Torrance schools, there's always that, they know the kids, and there's some good animosity, and they're ready to go and ready to play. But, the West kids, it's a big thing that you come out with a victory.
Thank you, Eric. When you're in high school, homecoming weekend is always fun. And one of the biggest events, if not the biggest event going on, yep, the football game. The Tartars of Torrance High were entertaining Centennial in their homecoming game. Tartars are trying to snap a 2-game losing skid. The Apaches, on the other hand, have lost 3 straight. Sports Desk reporter Danny Miskell was at Zamperini Stadium for this one, and she has our story.
Last week, the Tartars suffered a major loss against Lawndale, but they were able to recover quickly from it because tonight they had a landslide of a win against Centennial. And what better occasion to bring home a sweet victory than for their own homecoming game. And here comes the Tartars, hitting the ground running hard. Their offensive line off to a strong start, led by senior Kyle Sell, who scored the first touchdown just 2 minutes into the game. And to wrap up the first quarter, 26-0, would be junior Eric Suarez, who goes in for the quick 6 right here.
I put it all towards my linemen. They pushed their D back, and it just all started with effort from my linemen. That's how it started, and I had trust in my linemen that they put me in the end zone, and they did, and I followed right behind them.
Senior Nathan Gottlieb putting points on the board, running 16 yards into the end zone in the first quarter, and then again right here while even getting his helmet knocked off. Tartars showing the Apaches they mean business.
Actually, it was a play for a running back, but he ran the opposite way, so I did what our coaches told us and just run it in, and our line made their blocks like they were supposed to, and it all worked out.
Playing Centennial, we didn't figure on playing anybody except ourselves, and that's been the theme throughout this whole thing. Is we got to beat ourselves. I mean, we have to actually play the way that we can play, and that's it all culminated tonight with the victory over Centennial.
Thanks to their turnovers, the Apaches made it easy for the Tartars, and that would result in a 34-0 lead at the half. Gottlieb credits the offensive line for creating so many opportunities, including this play right here where he boldly goes for the 2-point conversion, and the pass is complete to senior Chase Pitts in the end zone.
We made sure to go 100% every rep and take no plays off.
I asked my line, give me you give us 3 yards and we'll get the rest. And they did that tonight. I imagine we ran over maybe 200-300 yards.
Pretty close guess, Coach. In fact, your Tartars finished with 308 yards rushing and a total of 317 yards for the game.
And that's what we've been designing to do. The last couple of years we went to the spread, and it never was meant for us. We went back to the double wing T, and we're just going to get better every single week.
Well, this week was already a big improvement, and just in time for homecoming.
It feels great. It's past 2 homecoming years. Hasn't been the best result, but this year, glad to come out with the W.
Next up for the Tartars, they're going to play crosstown rivals South. And for Coach Hollis, the formula to prepare for that game is quite simple.
We try to get better at running the ball. I don't care if we ever pass again. It doesn't matter to me. If we can run the ball, our line stays healthy, we're going to run the ball against South, and we're going to do everything we can in our power to run the ball against them.
The Tartars won their homecoming game by a landslide 48-0. And for Gottlieb, he says it will be a night to remember.
I love this group of guys. This is my favorite team I've been on. and I'm glad that we won on homecoming, and I had a great night as well.
Reporting from Zamperini Stadium and on the Tartars homecoming game night, I'm Danny Miskell for the Sports Desk.
Thank you, Danny. Huge win for the Tartars. Junior running back Eric Suarez led the way with a team-high 59 yards rushing. Senior Ethan Myers was right behind him with 58 yards. Fellow senior Tony DaCosta finished with 4 tackles and 2 sacks. As Danny mentioned in her story, next up for the Tartars, they'll travel across town to face city rival South. And speaking of the Spartans, they fell to 0-6 on the season with a 35-0 loss on the road at Lusinger High School. The Knights of Bishop Montgomery were also on the road. They traveled to Verbum Day High School for a South Catholic League contest with the Eagles. Much like the South High Spartans, the Knights are still searching for their first win of the season. Let's check this one out. You need to watch this right here because this was sent to us, this video, by junior wide receiver Nick Laufenberg of the Knights. Now, second quarter action we're watching right now. Knights trail 13-7 at this point. Matthew Origel to Nick Laufenberg, and he's G-O-N-E good and plenty. 84 yards to the house. One of his 5 receptions, he finished with 125 yards. That made it 14-13 Knights. Now, Bishop Montgomery put up a fight against Verbum Day, losing by the final of 28-22. With the loss, the Knights dropped to 0-6 on the season. QB Matthew Origel was 7 for 14 for 139 yards passing and threw for 2 touchdowns. The big one to Laufenberg, of course. Next up for Bishop, they're back at home to entertain St. Anthony. All right, the El Camino college football team is coming off a bye week. The Warriors will try to erase a 2-game losing skid when they return to Murdoch Stadium to host LA Harbor for their homecoming weekend. And speaking of El Camino College, both of the school's soccer teams were in action recently. The men's team lost a conference game to Compton College by the final of 3-0. The Warriors are now 9-2-1 on the season. Cesar Amezcua, he did have 6 saves in that loss. He was replaced by Hector Gutierrez in the second half, who finished with 2 saves of his own. Now the women's team, on the other hand, rocked Compton to the tune of 5-0. Warriors improved to 4-6-1 on the season. Elko outshot Compton 23-5, 17 of those shots on goal. Monica Bernardino picked up her second goal of the week in the first half, and Isabel Rojas knotted her 4th win of the season and 3rd shutout in goal. She finished with 4 saves. All right, we're going to take a quick time out here on the Sports Desk, but whatever you do, don't go anywhere because you won't want to miss this. Coming up next, North battles South in high school girls volleyball. Anthony Scott will break down this one for us. Plus, we'll have highlights of Bishop Montgomery as they entertain St. Paul. Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, everyone. Remember to follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Share your story ideas, post your photos and videos. We want to hear from you, Torrance. After all, this is your show, so be sure to get involved. All right, it's been a rough season for the North High Saxons girls volleyball team. They finally snapped their 6-match losing streak recently before falling to Torrance in their last outing. And things didn't get any easier for North when they visited crosstown rival South. The Spartans had won 4 of their last 6 heading into this contest. SportsDesk reporter Anthony Scott was at South High for this one, and he's got all the deets.
Thanks, AJ. I'm here at the North High School Gymnasium for a rivalry matchup between South and North High School. Now today marks the halfway point in league play, and with a win, South High can pull into a tie for first place. Now that will be no easy task, as it is a rivalry matchup and the Saxons will be poised to pull off the upset. If the teams needed any extra motivation, it was also the breast cancer awareness game on Friday. The Spartans of South High were hungry for a win after they lost their last match. Spartans junior Lauren Walsh delivered a thunderous spike to put South up 2-1 early. Then with South leading 22-15, sophomore Kai Lopez gets in on the action as she gets a big kill to help the Spartans win the set 25-15. A big reason for the Spartans' success was the serving ability of Captain Kristen Fritchie. She had 2 aces in the opening set.
She was hitting her spots with tough serves. It makes our defense easier when they're out of system.
Things did not get better for North in the second set. Look out, Lauren Walsh punishes this ball for the kill to extend South's lead 19-13. On the very next play, the Spartans feed Walsh again, and she delivers, tucking this ball inside the line for the point. South would win the set 25-14 and take a 2-0 lead in the match. North battled hard in the third set, keeping it close, but Kai Lopez comes through with a thunderous spike to put the Spartans up by 5. The sophomore Kai Lopez was back at it again later in the third set, with South ahead 23-22. Lopez sends this spike just past the North defense for the kill. Kai Lopez talked about her impressive third set after the match.
They were just perfect. I was feeling it. I get if I get into momentum, I start banging balls. So I felt really good.
2 plays later, with North trailing 24-23, a serve goes into the net, handing South the match. The Spartans win this one in straight sets and improve to 3-1 in league play.
It felt good to get back on the court. The girls were actually excited to get back into practice, and it carried over into today's game, so it was a good win today.
We were really pumped. We had a pretty good week of practice, so we were ready to get after it.
It's a tight race at the top of the league, and Spartan head coach Robert Cooch says his team has to be a little more consistent if they want to come out on top.
Against both Torrance and West, game 1 we dominated, won kind of easily, and then struggled after that. So I think when we're on, we're one of the better teams in the league. We just got to stay on all the time.
With today's 3-0 victory over North High School, the Spartans of South High have now moved into a 3-way tie for first place. Tied with South at the top of the division is Torrance and West High School. It's going to be a great battle as the season continues for that top spot. Reporting from the North High Gymnasium, I'm Anthony Scott for the Sports Desk.
Thank you, Anthony. The Knights of Bishop Montgomery were back at home trying to snap a 2-game losing skid. The Knights were looking to get above 500, and standing in their way, the Swordsmen of St. Paul High School. Bishop Montgomery senior captain Carolyn Vimoso getting her teammates all jacked up for this one. First set, Bishop up 14-11. Junior Piper Twombly serving, and then it's Piper setting up Brenna Starkley for the killjoy. Knights up 15-11. End of the first set now. It'll be Bishop senior Julia Iacarino assisting fellow senior Caitlin Foley, who makes it too hot to handle for St. Paul. Knights win the first set easily by the final of 25-15. Second set now, Knights to the right of your screen. Caitlin Foley serving for Bishop. St. Paul senior Hannah Tostado with the kill coming up. St. Paul cuts Bishop's lead to 6 points, but they wouldn't get much closer. Watch Bishop junior Lauren Turner smashing pumpkins. Wow. Knights win the second set 25-18. To the third set, and this was a wild one, kids. Bishop trails by a point, 23-22. Junior Christina Levine sets up junior Madeline Cardenas for the massive kill. That'll leave a mark. The score is tied at 23. End of the third set. Bishop needs this point to win it, and it's Caitlin Foley putting the finishing touches on this one. Bishop Montgomery wins the third set by the final of 26-24 and completes the sweep, defeating St. Paul 3-0. After the match, Brenna Starkley summed up the victory.
We just played our game and went back to the basics, continued to talk, and didn't let our energy down. I think we all, it finally clicked and we started communicating and talking about the hitters and staying on our feet in defense and just working together. And I'm just really proud of our team and how we finally came together and pulled through.
Elsewhere in girls volleyball, the Tartars of Torrance won their third straight all by shutout with a 3-0 victory over West High. The loss snapped the Warriors' two-game winning streak, my bad. And the Lions of Ambassador High won their fourth straight match with a 3-2 victory on the road over Pacific Lutheran. The El Camino College women have won 5 straight, improving to 11-2 on the season. Not to mention, the Warriors are still perfect in conference play with a 2-0 record. And that's because Elko steamrolled LA Trade Tech in straight sets with a 3-0 victory. As a team, the Warriors served up 13 aces. Sarah Dyer had 5 of them and dished out 18 assists. Jalen Motley led the team with 11 kills. Okay, we're going to take one last pause, but I wouldn't go anywhere if I were you, because you won't want to miss this. Still to come, it's North versus South once again, this time in high school girls tennis. And we're going to hit the pool where the women of El Camino College were hosting East LA. You're watching the Sports Desk, and you should encourage all of your friends to watch too. We'll be right back.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. He's tough enough to feed the man who gave him a lifetime of nourishment. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. That's right, no employee of the month bonus check here. This guy, no, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. Good luck finding a gym to train for that. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back. We turn our attention to high school girls tennis now. That's where the Saxons of North High are entertaining their crosstown rivals, the Spartans of South High. Several interesting matchups in this one. Now before the match, both teams getting amped up, and we begin with doubles play. Now check this out. On the left side of your screen coming up here, wearing white, it's Mel Kowaleski and Jenna Yankee right there, the number 3 doubles team for South, taking on Tai Tonino and Shannon Shinozaki in blue, the number 1 team for North. Saxons have a 2-1 lead at this point, and there's more where that came from. Tai Tonino serving for North in the near court, and the ball is returned directly into the net. Bad break for South. North in control now. Spartans trying to dig their way out of a hole. Shinozaki serving for North. And the Saxons would serve up a victory. Here's the serve right here in this doubles match. They would beat South by the final of 6-3. Now let's move over to the singles competition. different story for the Saxons this time. You're looking at the #1 singles player for South right here. This is sophomore Hallie Holzbauer, and she's taking on the #1 singles player for North. That's Emma Shaw Lassu. In this singles match right here, Lassu was up early for the most part. She was in cruise control, but then Holzbauer took control of the match, put herself back in the driver's seat. This is a nice back and forth here, and it would end up with Holzbauer grabbing the W. She defeated Lassu 6-4, and the Spartans as a team went on to defeat the Saxons by the final of 11-7. Afterwards, both singles players shared their thoughts on the match.
I started out not very well. I was hitting it out and not my normal shots, but then I knew I could win, and I just had to get it back, and I was winning games, and then the match was over and I won. My strategy was just to get it back. I played her before, and I knew if I just get it back, then I'll win the point.
For some reason, I stopped playing my game, which was just playing as the aggressive player that I am, and I just started to not swing through all my shots, and it just didn't work out for me. I should have just kept to my game. Even if I start missing shots, just keep sticking to my game plan, because in the end, that's just what's going to help me win instead of just trying different things. So just stick to the game.
It's pretty safe to say it's been a rough season for the El Camino College women's water polo team. The victories have been hard to come by for the Warriors, with only 2 wins on the season, but more than half of their games have been quite competitive. Recently, the Warriors were back in the pool, taking on East Los Angeles. Warriors head coach Corey Stanberry getting his squad ready. Second quarter, East LA Huskies up 4-1. Allison Jimenez fires on goal, but check out Elko's Taylor Baird with a nice save, one of her 6 saves in this one. The Warriors were hoping their defense would pick up in the second, but such was not the case. 3:35 left in the quarter. East LA's Caitlin Wu goes top shelf, and just like that, it's now 5-1 East LA. Huskies led 6-1 at the half. Coach Stanberry trying to rally his troops. Third quarter, El Camino trails 9-1 now. Eileen Guerrero, has seen enough. She takes matters into her own hands. Check this out right here, fighting off the defender. She gathers herself, fires the long-distance wrister right there, and Guerrero would score 3 unanswered goals to bring the Warriors within 5. She would also finish with a team-high 4 goals on the day. Minutes later, Warriors score again. Andrea Canchola, she beats Alejandra Gaspar, and now the East LA lead is 9-5. But that's as close as El Camino would get. Later in the fourth, Eileen Guerrero to Elizabeth Guerrero, but the Warriors would go on to lose this one by the final of 12-6. Well, that does it for this week's edition of the Sports Desk. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we appreciate your support. My name is AJ Vittone, and I've seen, heard, and said enough for 1 week. We'll continue this conversation again next week, I promise. Until then, don't forget to follow the Sports Desk on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and remember, you can email us as well. We'd love to hear from you. That's all the time we have, sports fans. We'll catch you next time right here on the Sports Desk.